Welcome to NeuroPower Talks, where neuroscience meets empowerment. I'm Mu, your name, and today we're diving into the one place where 95% of your thoughts come from and how to break free. If you're ready to rewire your brain, reclaim your narrative, and unlock the extraordinary potential within you, it starts right now. Every morning you wake up, your eyes open, but your mind is already in motion. Before you choose your first conscious thought, before you decide how to feel, before you remember what day it is, something else has taken the wheel. It's not your present self. It's not the future you dream of becoming. It's something old deeper, something powerful and mostly invisible. It's your subconscious mind. The moment your eyelids lift, your brain fires up a cascade of neurological activity. Familiar thoughts, familiar emotions, familiar patterns. 95% of it doesn't come from a place of conscious decision. It doesn't come from newness or clarity or purpose. It comes from the default operating system buried beneath your awareness. It comes from this place. Me. That's the truth most people never heard. You don't think your thoughts. Your thoughts think you. You don't choose the majority of what goes through your mind each day. It's chosen for you, not by fate, not by some external force, but by the old software inside your brain that has been running the same scripts over and over again for years. Scripts written in childhood, scripts coded in trauma, scripts burned into your neural pathways through repetition, fear, reward, routine. Your subconscious is not passive, it's not idle, it is active. It is the autopilot system of your life. And unless you become aware of it, unless you challenge it, unless you interrupt it, it will keep flying the plane of your life straight toward the destination it believes you deserve. You don't have to believe this for it to be true. You can feel motivated. You can read every book. You can plaster affirmations on your mirror. But if your subconscious identity says, I'm not worthy of success, or I don't deserve love, or people like me don't get to be free, then guess what? That's what your life will mirror. Because your thoughts, your choices, your behaviors, your energy, they all follow the dominant program. This is not your fault. But it is your responsibility, because here's what the science tells us. Clearly, powerfully, undeniably, the brain is a prediction machine. Its 8-1 job is not to make you happy. It's not to help you reach your goals. It's not even to show you truth. Its job is efficiency. Its job is survival. Its job is to predict what's going to happen next and prepare you for it based on what it already knows. So what does it do? It automates. It memorizes your past and repeats it into your future. That's the subconscious, a deeply efficient survival engine designed to keep you in the known. Every time you think the same thought, your brain wires a bit stronger. Every time you react the same way, your emotional circuits reinforce. You repeat the same feeling, the same action, the same outcome, and eventually the loop becomes so fast, so automatic, you forget it's even a loop. You think it's you, but it's not. It's not you. It's who you learned to be. It's who the world told you to be. It's the version of you that was shaped by environment, experience, pain, joy, failure, and fear. And unless you go back into that system and begin rewiring it, reprogramming it, re-instructing it, you will keep reliving the past as if it's the present. This is why change feels hard. This is why transformation is rare, because your brain does not change through desire. It changes through repetition and emotion. It doesn't care what you want. It cares what you rehearse. So if you've rehearsed smallness, you will think small. If you've rehearsed insecurity, you will expect rejection. If you've rehearsed chaos, you will seek it, even when you say you crave peace. This is why people sabotage love, why they lose momentum right when they're about to win, why they choose partners that replicate pain, why they push away the very thing they swore they were ready for. Not because they're weak, not because they're lazy, but because their subconscious is loyal to their past, not their potential. This part of your mind, this 95%, it doesn't reason, it doesn't argue, it doesn't question. It obeys. It obeys the dominant emotional truth you've embedded into it. So what do? How do we fight back against a system this ingrained, this hidden? We don't fight it. We rewire it. But before we can rewire, we must witness. We must bring awareness to the loop. We must become observers of our own minds. You have to learn to pause, to interrupt the auto-thought, to catch the emotional reflex, to challenge the story you didn't write, but that your brain keeps repeating. Because you were not born doubting yourself, you were not born fearful. You were not born with a voice that whispers, you're not enough. That was installed. That was coded. That was downloaded into the hard drive of your mind before you ever knew what self-image was. And now, decades later, it's running silently, shaping your days, directing your choices, draining your power. But here's the miracle. Just because something is subconscious doesn't mean it's permanent. The subconscious is not stone, it's clay. It can be shaped, molded, transformed. Your brain can't tell the difference between imagination and reality. So when you visualize a new identity, when you embody a new emotion, when you repeat new truths with conviction and urgency, your brain listens, your subconscious listens, and slowly the wiring starts to shift. But it takes more than a whisper. It takes more than once. It is immersion, because you're not just trying to think new thoughts. You're trying to override the thoughts you've been running for 10, 20, 30 years. You're not just planting a new belief. You're trying to uproot a forest of patterns that grew while you were asleep at the wheel. That's why the work is emotional. That's why it's physical. That's why it's spiritual. You can't heal the subconscious by reading. You heal it by doing, by embodying the new signal, by living the new frequency, by proving to your own nervous system over and over again that the old you is no longer in charge. Because the subconscious doesn't respond to logic. It responds to evidence. So when you choose courage, even when your hands shake, your brain takes note. When you speak your truth, even when your voice trembles, your wiring shifts. When you move forward, when every cell is screaming, stay safe, you break the loop. This is the path, not motivation, not inspiration, neural evolution. You are not here to survive your subconscious. You are here to reclaim it. You are here to wake it up. You are not a victim of your programming. You are the author. You are the architect. You are the coder of your own mind. But you can only change what you own, and you can only own what you see. So it's time to look. Look at the thoughts that loop. Look at the stories you inherited, but never questioned. Look at the identities you wear out of habit, not truth. Look at the belief systems that were handed to you like family heirlooms. And ask, do I still choose this? Because make no mistake, your subconscious is choosing for you. 95% of your day, 95% of your choices, 95% of your life, and most people will never wake up to it. Most people will go to their graves thinking the same thoughts they thought at 18, feeling the same shame they felt in childhood, living the same cycles they swore they'd break someday, but not you, because you're hearing this. Because something inside you is waking up. Because the truth isn't just landing in your mind, it's hitting your cells. You can feel it. This isn't information. It's activation. You're not broken. You're just programmed. And if you were programmed once, you can be reprogrammed now. The same mind that built the cage holds the key. But you must go deeper. You must dive into the 95%. You must become intimate with the place most people avoid. The place where the real transformation begins. Let me tell you the truth, most people spend a lifetime running from. You cannot rise above a mind that's still dragging you down. You cannot create a future with a brain wired for your past. And no matter how many goals you set, how many hours you grind, how loudly you scream your affirmations into the mirror, you will never outrun a subconscious that believes you are unworthy. This isn't about willpower. This isn't about discipline. This isn't about how badly you want it, because the subconscious doesn't speak the language of want. It speaks the language of belief. And if your belief system says, I'm not good enough, your brain will find 1,000 ways to bring that prophecy to life. Quietly, subtly, systematically, until you are living a reality that matches your inner script. That is what the subconscious does. It creates coherence between your identity and your experience. So you sabotage, you delay, you settle, you procrastinate, not because you're weak, but because you're programmed to return to the emotional home that feels familiar. And for far too many of us, familiar feels like not enough. Let that land, because this is where most people get stuck. They try to fix the surface. They try to hustle their way into healing. They try to build empires with a foundation of self-rejection. And then they wonder why it keeps collapsing. You can't build success on top of self-hate. You can't build love on top of shame. You can't build power on top of an identity that still whispers, you don't deserve this. Because even when you achieve it, you won't be able to receive it. You won't trust it. You'll think it was luck. You'll wait for it to fall apart. You'll unconsciously destroy it just to prove to yourself that your belief was right all along. That is how powerful the subconscious is. It would rather prove a painful truth than allow a joyful lie. It would rather keep you small than risk your identity being rewritten. Your subconscious wants one thing: safety through familiarity. So if pain is what you know, pain is what you seek. If rejection is what you've survived, rejection is what you'll recreate. If scarcity is what raised you, then abundance will feel like a threat, because abundance requires a different identity, a different self-image, a different inner narrative. Let me ask you something. Right here, right now, what does your subconscious believe you deserve? Not what you say, not what you post, not what you hope, but what you feel when no one's watching, what you expect when things start going well, what you believe when it's just you and your breath and your heartbeat. Does it believe you're worthy of love without conditions? Does it believe you can succeed without punishment? Does it believe your dreams are valid, even when they scare you? Because if it doesn't, if your internal blueprint still says too much, or not enough, or who do you think you are, then that blueprint is running the show. And it's not your fault. This isn't weakness. This is wiring. This is the result of years, maybe decades, of emotional repetition, moments that told you to shrink, to hide, to be perfect, to be quiet, to prove yourself. Moments when love was earned, not given. When approval depended on your performance. When you were taught, consciously or not, that your worth was conditional. Those moments got stored in the body. They didn't just pass. They printed. They became your template. And now, every time life offers you more, your subconscious checks that template and says, this doesn't match, abort. Self-sabotage, return to baseline. That's what self-sabotage really is. It's a nervous system trying to return to the emotional environment it recognizes. So when things feel too good, too calm, too safe, too loving, you don't relax, you panic. Because the inner voice says, this can't be real, I don't deserve this, something's wrong. And your subconscious starts scanning for threats, creating drama, replaying old patterns. Why? Because peace feels unsafe to a mind conditioned for chaos. Because love feels foreign to a brain shaped by abandonment. Because success feels unbearable when it contradicts a belief system that says, you'll never be enough. This is why transformation is not about becoming someone else. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you to forget. It's about confronting the parts of yourself that you buried because they were bright, too bold, too powerful for the environments you grew up in. You were not born to be small, you were trained to be small, but the truth, it's still inside you. And if you want to reclaim it, you must go to war with the subconscious patterns that keep you invisible. You must become aware of your default responses. You must notice the way you flinch from praise, the way you downplay your gifts, the way you chase people who make you prove your worth, the way you hold back when the spotlight turns your way. This isn't modesty, this isn't humility, this is programming. And the only way to overwrite it is to face it, to interrupt it, to choose over and over again a new identity that says, I am enough, even if it's unfamiliar. I am safe in my power, even if my past says otherwise. I will no longer shrink for comfort, I will expand for truth. Do you understand the magnitude of this? This is not motivational fluff. This is neuroscience. This is neuroplasticity. This is the real rewiring of identity, done not through thought alone, but through embodiment. You must feel the worthiness in your body. You must act like it's true before it feels natural. You must teach your nervous system that safety does not require struggle, that love does not require perfection, that success does not require suffering, that your identity can be self-authored, no longer inherited from pain, but consciously chosen from power. And yes, it will feel fake at first. Yes, it will feel uncomfortable, because new neural pathways feel unfamiliar until they're rehearsed enough to become real. But that discomfort, that's the sign you're in the right place. That's the tremble of growth. That's the nervous system letting go of its addiction to unworthiness. That's the subconscious slowly loosening its grip. And that's the moment you start to rise, not just consciously, but cellularly, not just in your thinking, but in your being. Because the real shift, the irreversible, permanent transformation, only happens when the deepest parts of you begin to believe a new story. And that story begins like this: I am not my past. I am my pain. I am not the lies my brain memorized in survival. I am powerful. I am worthy. And I am becoming the version of me who no longer apologizes for it. And when that story sinks deep into your subconscious, when your body starts to trust it, when your nervous system can finally relax into worthiness, then the world changes, because the world is only ever reflecting back what you believe about yourself. You don't get what you wish for, you get what you believe you deserve. And now it's time to raise the standard of your deserving. It's time to break the contract you made with pain, to end the agreement you signed with self-doubt, to walk away from the identity that kept you safe but silent. You don't need permission to become whole. You don't need evidence to feel worthy. You don't need to do more to be more. The healing happens when you stop negotiating with your own value, when you stop waiting to feel ready and start acting like it's already yours. When you stop proving your worth and start remembering it. This is the new subconscious program. I no longer outsource my value. I embody it. I live it. I am it. And when that becomes your inner reality, the outer world won't be able to help but rise to meet it. Let me hit you with something that will change the way you look at every single second of your life. You don't see with your eyes. You see with your brain, and your brain sees exactly what it's been told to look for, nothing less. That's not opinion. That's neuroscience. You are walking through a world that is filtered, sculpted, and narrowed by the most powerful gatekeeper in your life, your reticular activating system, your RAS. It's not just a part of your brain. It's the command center of attention. It decides what gets in, what stays out, what matters, what disappears. And most people have no idea they're programming this filter every single day. Let's get one thing straight. Your brain is flooded with information. Every second, millions of bits or sights, sounds, smells, patterns, possibilities. But it cannot process everything. So it filters, it prioritizes, it cuts away 90% of reality to serve you the 5% it believes is relevant to you. Relevant how? Not based on truth, not based on potential, not based on who you could be, but based on who you believe you are. Read that again. Your brain isn't showing you the world. It's showing you yourself, reflected through your internal narrative over and over again. So if you believe you're unlucky, your brain will spotlight misfortune. If you believe people can't be trusted, your brain will magnify every betrayal. If you believe you're not good enough, it will delete every compliment and highlight every criticism until your reality feels like proof. That is not reality. That is a neural hallucination. It's a mental shortcut shaped by repetition. It's not just what you notice. It's what you don't notice that's killing your potential. Right now, you could be surrounded by opportunities, love, abundance, breakthrough, and your brain could be hiding it from you because it doesn't match the story you've rehearsed. Let that sink in. This is why people stay stuck. This is why change feels so damn hard. Because it's not enough to want a better life if your mind is programmed to filter it out. You must train your brain to expect what you've never seen, to anticipate what you've never felt, to search for what your old self would have ignored. And that begins with ruthless awareness. You have to become obsessed with the stories you're feeding your filter, because every thought, every repetition, every emotional reaction, it's carving instructions into your RAS. Tell your brain every day that you're broke, and it will blind you to solutions. Tell it you're unlovable, and it will blind you to affection. Tell it the world is dangerous, and it will blind you to connection. But feed it power, feed it worth, feed it possibility, and slowly, silently, it begins to shift. It starts letting in the signals that match your new identity. And when your filter changes, everything changes. Suddenly, what felt impossible shows up as inevitable, not because the world changed, but because your brain stopped deleting the parts of reality that contradicted your self-doubt. Let's make this visceral. Have you ever bought a new car and suddenly started seeing it everywhere? It didn't multiply overnight. Your filter just tuned in. Your brain said, "This is relevant now." And what was invisible became obvious. Now imagine that, but with your life. What if success has always been around you, but you couldn't see it because you told your brain it didn't belong to you? What if you're one mindset away from seeing a door that's been wide open all along? This is the game. This is the mechanism. This is the neuroscience behind transformation. But here's the hard truth most people avoiding. You are responsible for your filter. And if you don't take the wheel, it defaults to your past. The brain is lazy. It loves patterns. It will run on autopilot until you command otherwise. So if your filter is based on trauma, you'll keep scanning for threat. If your filter is built on rejection, you'll keep collecting proof that you're not wanted. If your filter is saturated with scarcity, you'll see lack in every corner, even in the middle of abundance. But the moment you interrupt that signal, the moment you begin to program in the opposite, something starts to shift. It's slow at first, it's subtle, but the world starts to reveal itself differently. It begins when you decide, truly decide, to train your mind like your life depends on it, because it does. You begin by asking the filter better questions. Where is the opportunity in this moment? Who around me believes in what I believe? What part of me is ready to receive more? Do you understand the power of that? Every time you ask a better question, your RS activates like a search engine. It starts scanning the world for answers that match your curiosity. And suddenly, things shift. Not because they changed, but because you gave your brain new instructions. This isn't wishful thinking. This is biological precision. This is self-directed evolution. And it demands discipline. Because you have years, sometimes decades of negative programming to override. That means you don't wait until you feel confident to think like a winner. You start thinking like one, and your filter catches up. You don't wait until you feel loved to believe you're lovable. You feed your brain that belief until it starts pointing out every reflection of it. You speak the language of the future until the present begins to shift. Not because you're faking it, because you're recalibrating what your brain calls real. Think of it like this: every time you focus on fear, you are your filter to prioritize threat. Every time you focus on gratitude, you are your filter to seek blessings. Every time you focus on possibility, you are your filter to find the open doors you used to walk past without even noticing. So how do you rewire it? Start with repetition and emotion. The reticular activating system is shaped most by what you repeat and what you feel. That means it listens to what you say in the heat of emotion. It listens when you're crying yourself to sleep, whispering, "Nothing ever works for me." It listens when you're staring in the mirror, thinking, "Who would ever love me?" And it stores that. It builds around that. It filters the world based on that. But here's the good news. It also listens when you speak power. It listens when you declare, "I am not my past, I am my potential." It listens when you whisper through tears, "I am worthy of peace even now." It listens when you say, again and again, "My life is making room for miracles." And the more you speak that language, the more the filter adapts. The more your external world begins to reflect the internal command. But it's not magic method, it's muscle. And like any muscle, it grows with training. So I'm not asking you to pretend. I'm asking you to practice, to rehearse the mindset of your future until your filter starts showing you the path to it. Because let's be honest, what you see is not objective. It's selective. It's edited. It's colored by expectation. And expectation is a choice. Choose to expect expansion, and your brain will show you where to grow. Choose to expect rejection, and your brain will find every closed door. Choose to expect breakthrough, and your brain will start revealing cracks in the wall that weren't visible before. This is your power. This is what separates transformation from repetition. This is what takes you from stuck to unstoppable. But only when you take radical ownership of the lens you're looking through. From this moment forward, understand this: you are not just living in a world, you are projecting a world from within. So clean the lens. Upgrade the filter. Speak new instructions into your reticular activating system like your future depends on it. Because it does. And if your old self tries to speak louder, remind it gently, "You were programmed by pain. I am programmed by purpose." Then walk, even if the path looks empty at first. Because now your brain is trained to find what you once believed was invisible. And every step forward teaches it what to look for next. Let's talk about something that nobody wants to admit, but everybody lives. Pain feels safer than possibility. I want you to feel that in your bones. Because if you're stuck, if you're repeating patterns you swore you'd break, if you're sabotaging relationships, goals, breakthroughs, it's not because you're broken. It's because your subconscious mind is loyal to one thing above all else, the familiar. Not the joyful, not the fulfilling, not the liberating, the familiar. And if pain is what you've known, then pain is what you'll reach for over and over again, even when freedom is staring you in the face. That is the cruel intelligence of the subconscious. It doesn't want what's good, what's known. It wants what's predictable. It wants the same loop, the same story, the same identity, because that's how it knows you're safe. Let me tell you what that means. It means your subconscious would rather keep you in a relationship that's draining than let you step into love you've never known. It means it will drag you back into anxiety the moment you taste peace because it feels foreign. It means it will destroy your progress the second your identity feels too new, too light, too freak, because free is a stranger and pain is a friend. We do not rise to what we deserve, we sink to what we're familiar with. And unless you retrain that familiarity, unless you become conscious of what your subconscious calls home, you will never break the cycle. That's why healing is not a straight line, it's a war. Not a war against the world, a war within yourself. You're not fighting failure. You're fighting the gravitational pull of what your nervous system believes is safe. And that's the reason people relapse. That's the reason people ghost their progress. That's the reason people push away healthy love, abandon growth, sabotage careers. They are homesick for their wound. This is not weakness. This is wiring, and wiring can be rewired, but not with wishful thinking. Not with half-hearted affirmations taped to a bathroom mirror. It takes your commitment to your freedom every single day. It takes understanding that the very thing you crave may feel like death to the part of your brain that clings to the known. When your body shakes in the presence of peace, that's not a sign to run. It's a sign to stay. When you feel the urge to pick a fight just because someone treated you with kindness, pause. When you feel pulled back toward the mess you escaped, breathe and remember your nervous system is learning a new language. A language of calm, a language of worth, a language of possibility. And it's going to feel foreign, because it is. But just because it's unfamiliar doesn't mean it's wrong. The greatest trap in life is mistaking comfort for truth. Just because suffering feels natural doesn't mean it's necessary. Just because fear feels familiar doesn't mean it's wise. Just because your subconscious screams, "This is who I am," doesn't mean you have to listen. You can feel the fear and not obey it. You can carry the wound and still walk into healing. You can be terrified of freedom and still claim it. Because guess what? Your subconscious learns through exposure. It's a pattern recognition machine. If you keep showing it new, health-aligned, powerful experiences over and over again, it rewires, it updates, it replaces the language of pain with the language of peace. It learns that love is not a threat, that stillness is not danger, that joy is not bait. And suddenly, the thing that used to make you flinch becomes your new normal. The chaos you used to crave starts to taste like poison. The suffering you once were like armor becomes unbearable to hold. That is the work. That is the transformation. That is what happens when you stop living as a prisoner of your history and start living as the author of your future. But you must decide. Decide to hold the line when every cell in your body is begging to go backward. Decide to stand still when the temptation is to run. Decide to breathe through the discomfort of growth and say to yourself, "This may not feel safe yet, but it is right." Reclaiming your mind is not a weekend project. It's a revolution. And your freedom, it's on the other side of repetition, of showing up again, of choosing discomfort over dysfunction until the discomfort becomes comfort, until freedom feels like home. So if you've been repeating old cycles, if you've been pulled back to old patterns, if you've felt the haunting magnet of your past, this is not failure. This is the battlefield. This is where transformation is forged, in the fire of your old instincts and your new intention. So look your subconscious in the eye and say, "I know you're trying to protect me, but I no longer need protection from my own future. I'm safe to rise, I'm safe to change, I'm safe to walk into rooms I've never entered and wear identities I've never tried on." And every time you do, you teach your subconscious that the unfamiliar doesn't mean unsafe. It means uncharted. It means unwritten. It means possible. This is your moment. Not because everything is perfect, but because you now know that the enemy was never your environment. It was the internal autopilot that confused pain with identity. And now you see it. Now you feel it. Now you have a choice. You can keep returning to the past, or you can risk becoming someone who's no longer at war with peace. Because that's what healing really is to you, allowing joy to become familiar, allowing success to feel natural, allowing abundance to feel deserved, allowing you to feel like enough without a reason. So here's your call to action from NeuroPower Talks, from Neuroscience, from Truthing Interrupt the Familiar, program the subconscious. Claim the freedom. No more worshipping old wounds. No more defending dysfunction because it feels like home. No more apologizing for evolving into someone your past no longer recognizes. You are not here to be loyal to your history. You are here to lead it. Because the most powerful version of you isn't buried under years of pain. It's on the other side of what you've never dared to feel. And nope, you're ready. Now you walk. This has been another chapter of transformation from NeuroPower Talks. If this message lit a fire inside you, don't let it die quietly. Let it guide your next decision. Let it challenge your patterns. Let it be the reminder that your thoughts, your filters, your habits can all be rewired. Your brain is not your prison, it's your power. So stay with us, keep tuning in, and remember the mind that created your limits is the same mind that can destroy them. Until next time, walk forward, live wide, and make freedom your new familiar.